Have we become so dull with what we find scary these days that we've chosen to favour simplistic, easily and poorly done products over those that require time, effort and much more? I ask this question not as a pretentious boast, for me to sit on a high horse and act as if my subjective appreciation for certain horror movies and games is somehow higher in an objective merit or even imply it in a subjective merit. I ask this question to raise awareness to the fact that we've become more open to appreciate and shed light on video games that rely on cheap scares rather than scares that require actual effort to act out. The fact that a game like Five Nights at Freddy can be considered one of the most scariest games out there just for using jump scares. And before I get commenters attacking me and clarifying that people are entitled to appreciate this game and find it scary, understand that I have no problem with people who can enjoy playing the game and even liking it. Don't think of this as a biased video. I don't think that Five Nights at Freddy is completely devoid of anything worthwhile to it whatsoever. I think that it has good parts, however I think the bad parts are more significant than the good parts, or at least too distinct to call it the scariest game ever, or even up there as one of the scariest. This video though isn't me trying to put my preference on a higher pedestal, not only because that's off-putting, but also because I don't view my opinions as anything higher than my opinions. What I wanted to discuss in this video isn't about people liking it, but rather people overhyping this game to an extent which causes a bad effect on the horror market, including the horror movies. Hopefully fans of the video game can understand that me criticizing the video game and the hype is not me saying that your positive experience and opinion is wrong. So once upon a time in early August 8th, 2014, Five Nights at Freddy debuted on the PC. Although it didn't become iconic as soon as it hit, with the help of the popular Let's Player Markiplier and others, this game was able to become well known quickly, managing to be able to get mostly positive reception, the highest being a 10 out of 10 on Steam, getting a 78 out of 100 on Metacritic, an 80% on Game Rankings and PC Gamer US, and the reason this game was so acclaimed was for many reasons, ranging from Indie Game Magazine praising Five Nights at Freddy for its simple take on the horror genre, noting that its artistic direction and gameplay mechanics contributed to the feeling of brutal tension, worsened by how a player may be familiar with similar restaurants such as Chuck E. Cheese, and its incredibly terrifying experience to try and save yourself from the single jump scare that ends the game. In conclusion, Five Nights at Freddy was considered a fantastic example of how cleverness and design and subtlety can be used to make an experience terrifying. However, the game was criticised for taking too long to load when it launched. Omri Petit for PC Gamer gave Five Nights at Freddy a score of 80 out of 100. Commenting that the game took a less is more approach to its design, and that while the AI isn't some masterwork of productual unpredictability, it would still hit straight to you and eat your face off, or play around like an innocent child before closing in for the kill. Your mind will fill in the rest. The game's overall atmosphere was praised for emphasising the fear and suspense of an approaching threat, rather than the arrival of the threat itself as in other horror-orientated games. However, the gameplay of Five Nights at Freddy was criticised for becoming repetitive once a player masters it, as there is nothing more to expect beyond managing battery life and careful timing of slamming doors shut. So those with steely willpower won't find anything else past the atmosphere of it all. RYANBATES of GameRevolution gave the game a 4.5 out of 5, comparing its camera-orientated gameplay to the 1992 game Night Trap. He praised the game's minimalistic presentation, with particular emphasis on its audio design and lack of music, for contributing to its terror of the game, along with the fact that the nervous impulses of its repetitive gameplay would reach an almost OCD-type levels, adding to the tense environment. In conclusion, he felt that the game was horror done right, but it was too short. Now these are only the beginning of the positive feedback that had to come with Five Nights at Freddy, so you can only imagine how much more the game was highly spoken about. I haven't really seen much criticisms being given about the game. Usually ones that are critical about this game are usually dismissed as bad and unwanted. In all honesty, when I seen this game come into popularity, I didn't care. I dismissed it because it just seemed like it wasn't for me. But once I started to look at it and see that it was positively spoken about, I was quite confused, since I only deemed it as a typical horror game and I dismissed it for a bit, until I seen that it hardly had any critics speaking bad of it for the most part. So I actually played the game. I played it from day 1 to day 5, and what were my thoughts? I think Five Nights at Freddy is another one of those one-hit wonders. Something that became well known by popular gamers and becoming known for however long. The gameplay is in first person, kind of like another one-hit wonder horror survival game, but we'll get to that criticism later. The premise is that you're a security guard for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza who must survive his 5-day night shift lasting from midnight to 6 AM. Your character can't move and you have to make sure that you are not attacked by any of the animatronics in the weekdays you work there. The animatronics are allowed to roam the place at night, so you have to check the cameras to see if they're near you. If you turn on the light on and you see them there, then you must close the door. And you have 100% battery, and the camera, lights and doors eat up the battery. Okay, you got that? Given that Markiplier, PewDiePie, KSI and any other online gamer took multiple times, you'd think that an avid gamer who struggles playing The Simpsons Hit and Run would probably have a hard time completing this. Well, I completed the game in its first try. It's not even a difficult game, it's incredibly easy if you pay attention to the instructions and play it normally. The most the game can be is tedious at times whenever Foxy runs down the hallway, but aside from that the game isn't scary. The game is so reliant on you being scared of the jump scare that if you aren't scared by that, the game isn't scary at all. A jump scare is nothing more than a loud noise. If you've been caught, you expect a loud noise. It isn't surprising, and even if it is, it's not effective. Now, many may be scared by the jump scares, and that's fine. But I think that's something that is getting all of its praise for how clever it is as a horror game. It'd be more reliant on other elements, rather than essentially a walking doll coupled with jump scares. This game is pretty much what Curse of Chucky was. The reason many other horror movies are praised as clever and intelligent is that the person making the movie has such a great understanding of what's scary to most people that they don't have to resort to an unexpected loud noise to make their viewers shaky. Knowing how to add atmosphere matters, and I completely understand that horror is a really subjective thing. Some people are easily scared, some people find animatronics to be scary, and that's fine. But if you're gonna market this as a video game that can scare so many people, yet have the fear derived from a noise and the animatronics with no atmosphere, then I really don't see what's so shocking about it. The thing is, these days all you have to do to make the scariest game ever is to find a premise, elaborate or not is optional, make it first person and throw in a couple of jump scares and you're set. To further prove my point, let me remind you of Slender. Back in 2012, when PewDiePie popularized Slender, it became huge. And another reminder that no, I'm not here to put down anyone for liking any of these video games, but merely suggesting that the fame that they've gotten is over-warranted, and that you have every right to appreciate the game. Anywho, the game was popularized by PewDiePie, but Slender was known far more before the game ever released. In fact, in 2009, the concept was created on a thread and was eventually popularized. Once PewDiePie gave this game exposure, many people played and adored this game. I myself actually bought into it. My friend Callum downloaded the game when I was over and we both played it. Needless to say, it isn't scary, at least to me. It's another game reliant on jump scares. Though I do enjoy the game Slender, as in it can be entertaining. However, it certainly is overrated in terms of it being scary. And this is my problem. People these days are more interested in playing video games that have jump scares and that's it. Just get a premise, add jump scares, and wait for some Let's Players to popularize it. My issue is, these days people have lowered their standards and have accepted jump scare fest as legitimate horror just because you jumped. Chris Stuckmann summed this up perfectly in his video, The Problem with Horror Movies Today.
For many audience members today, the term scary has a completely different definition. For some, it seems a film's scare level is measured by how many times a loud noise or sound effect made them jump in their seat. This is the curse of the jump scare. It is the single easiest scare to accomplish. There's no real effort put into it, and the exact same technique is used every time. All sound suddenly drains from the movie, No one speaks, there's no music, and then suddenly an ear-piercing jolt rings through the theater and everyone jumps because a really loud noise just happened.
Now, I recommend watching his full video, however his complaint about the use of jump scares sums up my opinion perfectly. It's the easiest scare to achieve because anyone can show you nothing and then something while showing a jolt of loud noise. Again, don't think I'm saying that if you enjoy this type of horror that's wrong, but try to understand that it's the easiest scare to get. It's fine to enjoy something and acknowledge the flaws in it too. For example, I wouldn't say a popcorn flick is at par with a powerful interpretive movie. That doesn't mean I should hate popcorn flicks just as much as it doesn't mean that you have to hate Five Nights at Freddy's. And that's where I end my point. It's okay to find enjoyment out of something simple and fun, but realizing that it's just that is important. You shouldn't allow biases take control over the horror market.